right. Hey, Don. Sorry about that.
So have you ever thought about becoming a better man, a better person, a better whomever, right? There's a gap between who we wish to be and how we're actually behaving. My buddy Mike Cameron has written a recent book called Becoming a Better Man. It shows us how to close that gap between who we wish to be and how we're actually behaving. It's a courageous look at the doubts and fears we've learned not to talk about, and a reminder that we can create a stronger, healthier understanding of what manhood really means. And he's got 3 things that he knows to be true. 1, masculinity isn't toxic. 2, there's a lot of good men in the world. And 3, I can always be a better man. And if you don't know Mike Cameron, he's a successful entrepreneur. He's often invited to speak at a variety of business events and conferences, and is the CEO of Axiom Mortgage Partners, a national network of independently owned mortgage brokers. And he's got one of the biggest hearts of anybody that I know. And while I've read 3/4 of the book, I'm hoping that the hero makes it out in the end. And because it's Mike's book, I'm going to spoil it for you, folks. He's here today. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, man? Like I told you, my Bluetooth headphones are doing a little bit of goofy stuff. So if I'm a little off, that would be why. I may try and kick you over to the laptop speakers here and see if that works. But I'm sitting outside in beautiful Canmore, Alberta. I don't know how much of the mountains you can see, but this is one of my favorite spots in the world.
Wow, Canmore, Alberta. So is that white stuff? That's not cocaine, is it, Mike? That's snow, right?
That is snow. That is absolutely snow. Yeah, you don't know what that is down in Florida there, do you?
No, but I'm from Wisconsin, so I remember what it is. I remember the snow, and I'm just glad that you're here. And you're coming to us from a beautiful spot. So I got to ask, Mike, what the heck compelled you to write this autobiographical yet super, super useful and inspiring book?
Yeah, it's funny how it started. It's certainly evolved. So the beginning of this actually started out as sort of a 30-day challenge. If you will. When I do my speaking engagements, I will often end with a 30-day challenge. Okay, all you guys in the audience, if you want the material, send me a note. I will send you the material, and I'll do a 30-day check-in with you, and we'll see if you actually implement all of the sales tools and tips and techniques that I've delivered. And I always joke with them that 90% of you are going to do jack shit with the information. So I thought, well, if I'm going to issue a 30-day challenge, why don't I put together a series of 60 to 90-second videos that guys can tune into after the fact? So I started doing that, and as I started scripting out these videos, I've got 1,000 to 2,000 words per video, and all of a sudden it's like, shit, this is starting to feel like a book. And the book evolved from sort of business lessons into life lessons. And I've had some fairly significant events pop up in my life that have been pretty meaningful learning opportunities for me. So I thought, rather than do it in the context of, if you want to, then you need to X, Y, and Z, right? Because, I got to tell you, most of the sort of self-helpy books that I've read, I read chapter 1 and I'm good. Not to take away from Simon Sinek, his stuff is fantastic, but it starts with why. Okay, I get it. Now I get it. I mean, I understand the concept. Now I just need to go apply it. I don't need 300 pages for the most part. Again, I shouldn't pick on Simon because his book is one of the absolute gems out there. But for the most part, a lot of those self-help books, I find I need the first chapter and then I get the concept, and the rest feels like a little bit of filler. And I didn't want to do that. So, you're a sales guy. So if we want to, our customers buy on emotion justified by logic. We want to make that emotional connection. We do that through the power of story. So that's what I did here. I just, used the power of my story to sort of share lessons. And again, it's not prescriptive. It's just, this has been my journey, and here's some of the shit that I did well, and here's some of the shit that I didn't do so well. Hopefully you can learn from it.
Yeah, well, it's not just one lesson, though. I think that's what's interesting, right? Because a lot of times we have a seminal event, and then we just build around that, and everything builds there. And I actually like the fact you've got 32 lessons in the book, which is really helpful, right? Because this is a book that certainly you can read from cover to cover, but you don't have to. You could pick this up, pick a chapter out, spend 12 minutes, read the book, read the chapter, and then say, maybe I'm going to kick my own butt today because I can be better. And I really like that, Mike. So was that intentional? Did you do that because my attention span and all salespeople's attention span is about 15 minutes or less, or what'd you do that for?
Yeah, that was sort of part of it. I'm actually really glad to hear you say that, because that was definitely a hope. I'm not sure it was super intentional, and that we would have gone back to the drawing board if we didn't quite get there. But that was absolutely a hope, because as you say, for guys like me, I mean, again, I wrote the book that I wanted to read. I'm not great with start to finish unless it's an extremely compelling story. I like to hop around a little bit and take bite-sized digestive pieces. So yeah, that's certainly something. And I again, I'm pleased to hear that you enjoyed this sort of, there's a whole plethora of things in there, because I worried about that a little bit, in this day and age where they talk about specialize. I kind of feel like this is a very sort of generalist book. And, my girlfriend Michelle and I joke now about, so what's your next book going to be? And I sort of joke that I could pretty much take any one of the topics in this book and write an entire book about each of those topics. So I've got lots of fodder for the next book.
Awesome. I love that, man. Well, let's talk about the book, right? Because there's so much in here, and there's so much that we could digest. And I'm going to just pull a couple pieces out, and I'd love you to talk more about some of these, because to your point, right, it is a pop around, enjoy the book, think about it, go really deep here. So I'm going to read a little section. I'd love to talk to you about what was going through your brain, how we can apply it, and a little more color to that. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So one of the chapters that I really liked was the chapter about fitting in. And you say in this chapter, right, because I got to tell you, I've never fit in. I'm probably never going to fit in. And I probably am going to be the one guy that says, stop trying to fit in. In fact, my next book is called What's Your Weird? It's going to be about standing out, right? So I am the wrong guy to do this. But that being said, until the last probably 5 years, I have fought to fit in, for sure. But the last 5 years have been good as far as not fitting in. So let's talk about this a little bit. I think this is important. What you say in here in this chapter is, it says, even at all these years later, I still see in myself, my peers, my friendship circles, my colleagues, that desperation to fit in with the cool kids. Want to be in that clique with the people who are, by definition, the minority. There are more of us, and by us, those on the outside, those non-cool kids, than there are others, right? By definition, the minority, right? So if there's more of us than there are them, we still strive for acceptance from that small group. And here's the money shot. He said, if we spend more time as the majority looking for ways to prop each other up rather than trying to join a clique in which we don't belong, we might not have the same challenges with things like loneliness and depression as we do today. And I got to tell you, man, that hit me right in the freaking heart, because I've lost people to depression. And I know it is often because they felt alone. They felt so ostracized. So what's going through your brain when you wrote this chapter, man? And what's the helpful tip that you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of sums it up. I mean, I've always been on the outside, and I've kind of, at some point, sort of resigned myself to being that. And I see it now in the business circles. You've kind of got the cool kids of the business world and the not so cool kids. And we still sort of strive for that acceptance. And I don't know whether that's just something innate that we feel we need. And as a result, I think, again, this is sort of me personally. I was finding I was catering to what I thought the world wanted of me, as opposed to stepping into truly who I am. And, I feel like there's a lot of talk about that these days. But, for me, that is just a reminder, like, why the hell are we spending all this time and energy trying to fit in with this little minority when, there's probably more Phil Gerbyshaks and Mike Camerons out there than there are, Brad Pitts. So, not that I wouldn't like to hang with Brad Pitt, but, again, this when we can drop the mask of who we think the world wants us to be, we can step into who we truly are, and that's when the magic happens.
Totally agree, man. As soon as we step into who we really are, who we're meant to be, right, to become that better man. And by better, let's be really clear here. We're not talking about comparing yourself to others. We're talking about improvement, right? Really clear here. The book is called Becoming a Better Man by my friend here, Michael Cameron. It's not about comparing yourself. Michael's better than me, or I'm better than John, or anything like that. It is about becoming a better version of you and embracing more of you, which I think is super, super beautiful and really, really important. So great lesson from that chapter. Let's talk about one that I've recently discovered, or really, I shouldn't say discovered, embraced, and that is gratitude. You have a whole chapter dedicated to gratitude. Mike, talk to me about that one.
Yeah, I mean, that one kind of, I'm not sure I intended for that to exist until I started reflecting. You know, in the chapter, it's where I talk about some of the lessons I learned in my young years. I was 16, 17 years old, near-death experience, and all the people that busted their tail to make sure I didn't die. And I just wanted to get the hell out of there and get the F out of my way. And I was just an angry young man, and all these people were trying to do was help me. And it really, gratitude is something I practiced for a few years as an intentional practice. But when I sort of reflected on that part of my life, and I recognized, like, holy shit, dude, that was terrible. That is not the man I want to be. And so, yeah, I just felt compelled to sort of expand on that. There's reams of studies and papers and research out there that talk about the benefits of gratitude. But I just felt that it was important to sort of capture that in the context of my life. Again, I'm not sure that I'm going to tell anybody anything new. I'm just telling it through my lens, and hopefully it'll resonate with somebody that it didn't before.
Yeah, well, the best we can hope, right, is to be one more drip on somebody's journey that can help reinforce what they already know, so that eventually they take the action that's in their best interest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, I don't know that there's any of us that hear a message once and go, yeah, I'm all in, and we do it. So, it's got to come at us from all kinds of different angles. And, my angle is just one of them. I don't profess to be an expert, and I talk about that. Like, again, I'm not an expert. I'm just a dude that's trying to be a better dude every single day. And hopefully my stories inspire others to do the same. I think, again, as I sat down and reflected it, it's like, shit, I've gone through a lot of shit. And I still turned out okay.
I would argue because you went through all that shit is why you turned out okay. Not in spite of it, right? We have to remember that, right? When we're going through hell, we're like, man, this sucks. But when we look back, we're like, man, that's where all the learning was. That's where the journey got tough, the rubber met the road, and I was able to either suck it up or push it away. And if I sucked it up, I went through and I got better. And when I pushed it away, I got to experience that another time in another way. And that lesson, until I learned it, right, was always there, ready for the taking, but I was afraid to hit it.
Yeah, totally. And that's, again, I think that's the sort of big takeaway, is just being present and aware enough to look for those lessons, even in the shittiest of situations. And, I think it was our mutual friend, Drew, that had said that to me. He says, I think everything wonderful is on the other side of something shitty. And sadly, that seems to be true, at least in my life.
Yeah.
Most of my wonderful has come on the other side of something really shitty.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so true, man. I think that's so true. And it only looks good in hindsight. And at the time we struggle. So yeah, great point, man. So let's jump ahead here, because this is interesting here. You talk about what's on the scorecard, and then you talk about how action outdoes experience. You say action outdoes experience. You can make up for a lot by moving forward, regardless of your experience, skill, or ability. So are you, that, to me, that says, well, if you're going to do something, you should try it. You should do it. You should do it to the best of your ability and see what happens, and not spend so much time getting ready to do it. Is that what you meant to say in that chapter?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, again, for me, I think I often would look at, there's people less talented, less skilled, less knowledgeable than me doing things. And I think, well, why am I not doing that? Oh, wait a minute. It's because you didn't do that. That's it. So rather than, trying to wait around until I get the right education, until I've got enough money in the bank, until I've got this, until I've got that. And that's a big, big piece of it for me. It's that when I this, then all that. And removing the when I this piece of the equation and just doing it and moving forward.
Yeah. So important, right? Just get your butt in gear, get moving towards your goals, set those goals, go towards them, or at least just take an action. Imperfect action beats inaction every single freaking day. So take an action. Really good stuff, man. So let's kind of wrap this on a high note, because there's 32 stories in this book. It's called Becoming a Better Man. It's fantastic. It's short reads, much like these little nuggets that Mike's sharing with us today. So Mike, give me your favorite story from the book. That's the happiest story. And you define that however you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think the favorite sort of concept from there is the shift from trying to practicing. And, you just touched on that. Well, at least if you try. And I'm shaking my head. No, don't try, practice. Because if we shift away from trying, try it, there's this pass-fail mentality. When we practice, it's just about getting a little bit better. I tried that once, didn't work, I'm done. Versus, I practiced swimming. I tried swimming once, I couldn't swim, I'm done. I practiced swimming. If I wanted to do a triathlon, I had to practice swimming over and over and over and over and over again until eventually I got better. Will I ever be a world-class swimmer? No, never. But I had to keep practicing to get there. So I think from a concept standpoint, that one's definitely my favorite. It was really fun for me, sort of reliving my youth and chatting with some of the guys, the stories that I shared there. I talked to Graham, one of the guys in the book, and I sent him a pre-copy, and he just loved it. Again, just some of the memories and some of the stupid things that we did. The train hopping, that brought back a lot of, again, really good memories, but really stupid things.
Yeah. Well, again, it's about the journey, not so much about the destination. It's about becoming a better man every single day. I love your thoughts about practice. I think that, we prepare, we practice, and then we produce. I really believe that's how we're meant to live. And that's my sales philosophy. That's my life philosophy. And I try to live that. And of course, it starts with P, so it makes it easy for simpleton Phil to remember that. Super simple, man. Super simple. I love that. Love that. And love your story about becoming a better man. So, Mike, if there was something that people could do to get started towards the path, besides buying a copy of Becoming a Better Man, what would that be, and how would they get started?
Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, how would they get started on the journey of becoming a better man?
Oh, buy the book, of course.
Of course.
No, I think again, just taking some action. Actually, to be fair, I think the most important piece, and I don't go in depth in the book on this, and in fact, this will be the next book, is just slowing down, practicing the pause. Because I think, especially as men, we're not very good at that. And I did that I had a keynote this morning over breakfast, and I did that, and I just took 30 seconds, and I had the audience just take a pause. And I think that is probably the most powerful thing that we can do, and the first step. We don't need to learn how to meditate for an hour. We just need to learn how to stop for 30 seconds and take a breath. That's it.
Awesome. Something we all can do. Take 30 seconds today and just pause. Be with yourself.
And then notice.
Yeah. Notice what's going on. Notice how you feel. Notice what needs practice. And be present with yourself. That's
exactly. Exactly.
Great advice. So Mike, if people want to get more of your awesome, obviously they can go to Amazon, put in Michael Cameron, put in Becoming a Better Man. You're going to get Mike's book. But Mike, if people want to actually talk to you and have a conversation with you, my man, where would you send them? What's your favorite channel, or how do they best get in touch with you?
You know what? Instagram is becoming a new favorite, at Axiom Mike, AXIOM Mike. I do a daily story there, so I take 60 seconds of whatever happens to be popping in my head for the day, and I try and condense it down to 60 seconds. So it's been kind of it started as a challenge for me, but the response has been phenomenal. You know, and I try and respond to everybody there, or mikecameron.ca. I'm up in Canada, so it's a .ca address. And the .com, I think you guys have a big baseball player by the name of Mike Cameron. So
yeah,
pretty easy not to confuse us. But
you guys are a lot alike, though. He's a 6'4", sinewy, long center fielder, and you are not. So yeah, really close though. I see the resemblance. So you guys must be related. So yeah, so MikeCameron.ca,
totally
Axiom Mike, AXIOM Check him out. The book is called Becoming a Better Man. This is my buddy Mike Cameron. Check him out at Mike Cameron, CAMERON.ca, and get a copy. Go to Amazon, get a copy of Becoming a Better Man, because it's not about comparing yourself. It's about being a little bit better every day, practicing the pause, and practicing everything. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. Have an awesome day. So glad that you're here. Take care.